What's going on, everybody? Former MLB outfielder Austin Jackson here. Look, do me a favor and go check out my man Chris Pome's podcast, 30 Minutes Live with CDP. You can tune in Wednesday and Friday nights on Apple, Google, Anchor FM, and Spotify. And you might even get a special guest appearance from yours truly. Take care.
Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to my fourth podcast in 4 days. I'm looking forward to my show today with my guest, Kevin Allen. He's a former longtime hockey writer with US Today for 34 years. He's also the national columnist for Hockey Buzz, and he's also the Detroit Hockey News beat writer for the Detroit Red Wings. So I'm looking forward to having Kevin back on my podcast for a second time and talk about the state of the 2022 Detroit Red Wings and their young players that are in the lineup this year, like Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider, the big young defenseman from Germany. So I'm looking forward to having Kevin come on, and we'll talk a little bit of Red Wings hockey. So just give me a minute, and I will have Kevin on as my guest. I'm just going to put this on here. As we're waiting for Kevin, you can follow Kevin on Twitter at by Kevin Allen. And you can also check him out on hockeybuzz.com. And also you can check him out on Detroit Hockey Now. He does constant articles and columns about the Detroit Red Wings as well. And also you guys can check out the Red Wings website, nationalhockeyleague.com/Red Wings. The Red Wings are off to an 8-8-2 start so far after 18 games. They're 500. They've been pretty good at Little Caesars Arena, 5-2, 5-2-0 at Little Caesars Arena, but they've struggled on the road at 3-6-1. 5-2-1 at the Little Caesars and 3-6-1 on the road. So they're going to have to learn how to start winning some road games. And lately they've struggled defensively as well. So they're going to have to. I think the goaltending's been good with Alex Nikovic, I believe, if I pronounce that name right, and also Thomas Grice. So I think the goaltending's been pretty solid, but I think they still need to clean up their defensive end, the forwards and defense. And another concern I was going to talk to Kevin about is they need more balanced scoring. They do have the Larkin, Bertuzzi, Fabry line, but they also need the second, the third, and the fourth lines to step up. Lucas Raymond has been outstanding as a rookie. He's got 7 goals, 11 assists, 18 points as a rookie. And Mort Seider has 2 goals, 11 assists, 13 points. Give me 1 second, guys, and I'm going to bring on Kevin Allen, the longtime hockey writer and beat writer for the Detroit Red Wings. 1 second. Good afternoon, Kevin. How you doing?
Great. How are you?
Good. Again, I want to say thank you so much for giving me some time to come on and talk a little Red Wings hockey today.
Absolutely.
Definitely. We'll get into the questions now. And the first one I wanted to ask you, Kevin, is what are your thoughts so far on this 21-22 Red Wings team? And in your opinion, who has been their best overall player so far in the season?
Well, I mean, I think they're a much improved team, but there's still a long way to go. Boy, for their MVP, I'd probably have to say it's either Lucas Raymond or Moritz Seider. I'd probably lean on Moritz Seider just by saying that he can do a little bit more than Raymond, but both of them have been pretty comparable in terms of the impact they've had as young players. And from the veteran group, I'd probably go with Dylan Larkin, and I think it's only recently that I would give him the nod over Tyler Bertuzzi. But Larkin's had a good year. Prior to the COVID positive test, he had 5 goals in his 5 in the last 5 games, and of course, you take away the bad luck of the 1 game suspension, and then the missed 3 games for personal reasons, and now the COVID test. He's been a pretty strong player.
I was going to say he'll probably be out of the lineup for at least a week at least.
Well, it depends. We haven't been told yet whether the second test, which he would have received, was also positive. If he had a false positive, then that second test would be negative, and then the third test would be the determining factor. And then it'll come down to whether he has symptoms or not. If he has any symptoms. Like, for example, Sidney Crosby had mild symptoms, but mild symptoms is enough to get you, in 10 days in quarantine. And, 10 days is always 3 or 4 games. So if he's 10 days in quarantine, depending on when they start the clock, you'll either miss 3 games or 4 games. 3 if they count it that he can come back on the 27th, and 4 if they count that he can't come back till the 28th.
Yeah, because that's a huge loss. Because like I was reading in your columns, Kevin, on Detroit Hockey Now and Hockey Buzz too. The Wings need to get more balanced scoring. They're relying on too many on the one line to get their offense going.
Really, I mean, it's 47% of the goals are scored by Lucas Raymond, Dylan Larkin, and Tyler Bertuzzi, and that's a significant number percentage-wise. And it's remarkable. I just put this in one of my stories because I was fascinated by it, and it's terrible because I would like to give them credit. Now I can't forget. I forget the name of the website that did a study on the top lines through analytics and rated the Red Wings number 2 line with Pius Suter at center and Zadina and Fabre on the wings as one of the top 10 lines in the league. And I understand why, because of their possession time and the things that they do, why you might say that. But to me, you can't be a top 10 line if you're not producing. They only have 21 points in 18 games. And,
wow.
7 goals. No, they got 10 goals. I'm sorry. But they've got 21 points. That's not enough. They've got to produce more out of that line. It's one thing to play well, but it's another to score goals. And, they need more than 10 goals out of those 3 players.
Yeah, because teams will line up on the wings like, okay, we just got to shut down the one line and not have to worry about the second and third and fourth lines. Yeah,
and I just did a piece where I said 6 things they could do now, and one of the things that I think would be very important for the Wings to establish is right now they don't really have a physical presence. They expected that to come from Giovanni Smith. He's really not stepped up this season. He was given an opportunity, and now I don't want to say he was given a great opportunity because it wasn't like he was getting a lot of playing time. But in my mind, he had 98 minutes over his 12 appearances or whatever it was. And, look, it's not a lot per game, but when you take it in terms of the big chunk of time, that's an hour and a half. And in an hour and a half, you ought to be able to do more than he has in order to claim more ice time. And, he's capable of being that guy that I'm talking about, the guy that's hard to play against, that can produce some goals. Giovanni Smith has some skill in addition to being an intimidating presence, but he really hasn't done, in my mind, anything. He hasn't really been a physical factor when he's been out there. Occasionally you notice him, but not very often. And, of course, he hasn't been an offensive factor as well. But if you could get somebody to play with Rasmussen. Now, what's interesting about him is he hasn't really scored, but he has started to figure out, hey, I am 6'6", and I can effectively use my frame, in that kind of third line checking capacity. So if you could have Rasmussen and maybe some other player, in the Darren McCarty, Barkley, Goodrow, style of play, I think that would make the Red Wings a much better team. Right now, they don't have anyone who can, come out and be hard to play against and maybe create a little chaos out there.
And that's what Giovanni Smith was. Now, Kevin, I did see him a lot in the OHL with the Guelph Storm and Kitchener Rangers briefly, and I always thought that he was never consistent, and that's something that he needs to work on. He's capable of being a physical player and a third or I'd say a fourth line player, but I agree with you. Have there been any talks about maybe sending him down to Grand Rapids?
Well, they really can't do that because I think they feel they would lose him. Like, he did enough at the AHL level. There's a fascination with him around the league. This is a guy that really was guys really didn't want to have much to do with him at the American League level. And so I think they're fearful if they put him through waivers, they will lose him. And So I don't think they're thinking about that, but at some point they may just raise their hands and say, so be it. If we lose them, we lose them. But I would say there haven't been too many disappointments this year, but I would say he's one of them for the Red Wings. I think they were just hoping that he would raise his level, and we just haven't seen it yet.
Okay. And that gets to my second question, Kevin. Overall impression so far of the rookie defenseman Seider and Lucas Raymond?
Well, I think they've exceeded expectations, and expectations were pretty darn high. I mean, for them to come in and be 1-2 in scoring, and for Raymond to be, at a point per game pace, 19 years old. I know Jimmy Devellano, I saw him in the media room before a game recently at Little Caesars Arena, and he said that Raymond reminds him, and he's even told Yzerman this, a little bit of Steve Yzerman. That shiftiness in traffic, the ability to plan himself, find his spot, and the quick release, and boom, it's in the net. He's shown a lot of moxie. I like what they didn't know is how big his heart was, and his heart has been pretty big. He's been much better defensively than I think they thought would be possible for a 19-year-old. But then, the Swedish players generally come over pretty well prepared for the NHL. The Swedish system demands defensive responsibility, and so I think they should have kind of figured that he might be a little better than you might see out of some of the other countries. But and Seider, of course, he's just scratching the surface. That's what I like. We haven't seen his best offensive game yet. When he gets comfortable, he's going to be stepping in to about 15 feet away from the goalie and ripping a shot from the slot. We've seen, I think he's been a pretty good defender for a younger player. I love how Yzerman brought him along. He played 1 year in the German league before he was drafted. Then he got a year in Grand Rapids. He got a year in the Swedish league. We saw him play at the World Championships. We saw many markers for the Red Wings to sort of judge where he was at, and they knew he was ready. Like Steve Yzerman likes to say, I'm not going to hand you a spot. You have to earn it. Well, I think Moritz Seider was a little bit of an exception on that. They didn't need to see him, even though they said they did. They didn't need to see him in training camp. They knew he was ready, and they didn't hand him a spot, but they set one aside for him. Let's put it that way. And so I think they're just, they couldn't be more pleased with how the two younger players have played. And, they also have Nedeljkovic, who still qualifies as a rookie. So they really have three rookies who are playing at a high level. I think Nedeljkovic has been in every start credible or strong, one or the other. He hasn't had any poor starts, even when he gave up, all those goals against Tampa Bay. It was his first game. The defense has had a hard time adjusting to the way he moves the puck. As he even says, it's a little crazy when you look up and your goalie's in the corner. He gets it. So I think he's done the job for him. Their goaltending is.
Oh, I think you just froze up, Kevin. Oops.
Their goals against average is 3.33, and their goaltending has been good. So, what's that tell you? That tells you the defense hasn't been very good.
That's something they're going to have to upgrade. So that leads to my next question, Kevin. This one I wanted to ask you. Will defenseman Simon Edvinsson be ready to play for the Wings in the 2022-23 season, or do you feel he'll be down in Grand Rapids for a year before coming up to Detroit?
I think he will be in Grand Rapids. I don't know if it'll be for the full year, but I haven't written this yet, but I've been thinking about it. Like, it's not out from what I hear. Now, I haven't seen him play this year except on YouTube, but from what I hear, based on his potential, like, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Now, we still got a long way to go, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that Steve Yzerman would come out with the best player out of 3 consecutive drafts. Like, Moritz Seider definitely is already the number 1 pick out of that draft, the top pick, and Raymond might be the best player out of his draft year as well. And now, from what we're hearing about Edvinsson, he could be that guy as well. We got to see what happens with the other players. But Edmondson, one of the Swedish people involved with the national team told me just recently that he's just a monster. And there's great video of him. If you don't have to search too hard for it, it's on social media of him laying big hip checks. We've seen him carry the puck down near the goal. He's already established a new points per game record for teenage players in the Swedish Elite League. And, I need to remind everybody that, that's the league that had Hedman and Nicholas Lidstrom and Rasmus Dahlin. So he is definitely going to be a factor. And, but, he's still raw. So I would say that, he'll start next season in Grand Rapids and they'll watch him. If he makes, steady progress, I think we'll see him. If he doesn't, they'll be content to leave him there the entire year. And, then we'll see him the following season because, he's still young. He was just drafted, obviously, several months ago. So there's still a long way to go. But every indication is that the Red Wings have, again, won the lottery in a certain respect. And what's interesting is I think they thought he was going to be gone when he at 6. So they were surprised at that, but I think they thought Johnson from the University of Michigan was going to be available, and that's who I think they were going to take. Because they thought Edmondson would go much earlier. They thought he could go as high as 2 or 3.
Wow. I was going to say, and us fans, and that includes me, were upset when they didn't get the number 1 pick. And you know what? Sometimes it's not always getting the number 1 pick that gets you a good player.
Well, not when you're Steve Yzerman. I mean, he has just done I don't know how anybody can find any fault with the job he's done as GM. And I'm not saying that just because he's the darling and hero and walks on water as far as Detroit fans are concerned, but he just has done a really good job. It's one thing to be an icon and to, be the hero in your town, but then you got to perform, and he has performed. You look at the moves he's made, and look, not every one of them is going to work out. That's not the way it works in the NHL, but he's aggressive and he's not afraid. It's hard to make trades in the NHL. You look, Ken Holland was a very, very good general manager for a lot of years. He won multiple cups. He kept the team in the playoffs. He made the right moves at the trade deadline. But, you didn't see him make many player-for-player trades. A lot of trades he'd get he'd be renting players, giving up draft picks. I don't see him as a master trader. I think Yzerman is a master trader. I think he's the guy that, you never hear about his trades until they happen. Nobody heard a word about getting Nick Leddy until it happened. Nobody heard about Verana for Mantha. He keeps everything close to the vest, and then he strikes. And his trades usually are favorable for his team.
Speaking of Verana, what's the time frame for him to come back from his shoulder surgery? I believe he had.
Well, it's complicated by the Olympic break. He's due back, I would think, right around that first week in February, but there'll be, the Olympic break. And so my guess is that they're just telling him, look, plan on coming back after the Olympic break. I think the Red Wings will come out of the Olympic break. This is just a guess, but they'll come out of the Olympic break and Jacob Verana will be there. And then they'll have some fun. If the lines are still going the way they are now, they'll have a decision to make, because I don't think they're going to want to break up Raymond and Bertuzzi and Larkin, not if they're playing at this level. So that means Verana goes down to line 2. So if that happened today, I would guess you would move Zadina off that line and move him down to the 3rd line. But I don't know. We'll have to see where everyone is at when that happens. But that's going to be a major importance. I'm not sure that the league sort of understood what the significance of the loss of Verana. Just think if he was here and he was playing at the level he was playing at last season, it would be a different offensive situation for the Red Wings.
I was going to say, I feel Zadina needs to produce a little more too now at that age.
Yeah, I mean, he's either been slow to develop or he's he's not going to be that guy we thought he was going to be. I'm a little concerned that the romance of Zadina doesn't match up with the reality. And by that, I mean, he's fun to watch. He's got some slickness to him in traffic. He can make some plays, but it hasn't translated into the raw production. He gets some chances. He looks like he's ready to kind of break through, but it really hasn't happened. And so, maybe he's not a guy that's going to get 20 every year. Maybe he's a guy that's going to get 12 to 15. And maybe he's a top 9 guy and not a top 6 guy. I don't know the answer to that. I know they're hoping. I get the sense the Red Wings like him because he really wants to be a better player. He wants to be a top player, and he works at it. When they give him suggestions, I think he tries real hard. And same thing with Rasmussen. I don't know that the Steve Yzerman group would have made that selection of Michael Rasmussen the way that the Holland group did. But now that he's here, I think they see, well, he's been willing to change. He's converted from a guy that thought he was going to be a top line forward to a guy that now sees himself as a third liner and is working at trying to get to better at that. And, they've tried to convince him he can be Jordan Staal, which wouldn't be bad if he could be Jordan Staal. But, I like to remind people that Jordan Staal has been all over the map. He started out as a third liner, and then, now in his latter stage of his career, he's now a top 6 forward. So, Rasmussen has a ways to go until he's Jordan Staal.
And I was going to say, I see the Red Wings recall Joe Veleno. What is your quick thoughts on Veleno so far from what you've seen?
Well, I think there's no doubt, no question that Joe Veleno is an NHL player. But the question is will he score at this level? Is he a third line guy that's going to be a smart guy that can skate, match up with anybody you put him out against, score an occasional goal, or does he got more in him? And I think the question they had at the draft is the same question we have today. How much is he going to score? I don't think we know the answer to that yet. He does everything else well. He can skate, he can check. He's added some bulk. He's got a little more bite to him. He's a good hockey player. Everything about him but can he score? And that's that's what separates the Lucas Raymonds from the guys like Veleno. But there's 2 first-round picks that you see, and one guy at 19 that's come in and put a point per game, and then you have another guy that's been in the system for 3 years, and we still don't know whether he can score, and we don't know whether Zadina can score. So the guys that have the knack are far more valuable.
Okay. And that leads my next question, Kevin. I'm going to make sure I have you done well before 2:30. This one I wanted to ask you. Right now, do you feel this year's Wings team could make a push at a playoff spot? And if so, what needs do the Wings need to make? And quick thoughts on Ken Holland being introduced into the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Well, let me start with Ken Holland. Very deserving. I'm a little bit saddened that the Detroit fan base turned on him the way they did. Like I understand that that the drafting went downhill, and certainly he should be criticized for allowing that to happen. But there was a lot of good that Ken Holland did, and he's one of the most respected general managers in the game. You ask any other general manager around the league what they think about Ken Holland, and to a man, all of them have nothing but respect for him. The job he does, he really does understand how this all works, and the salary cap versus the talent, and making it all fit. And I think he's trying in Edmonton, but there was a lot of problems that he inherited. But he does have Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, so there's that. But I think he's very deserving of that, and I think I think once there's some time removed and the Red Wings are good again, I think everybody will start to remember how great Ken Holland was for this organization and how loyal he was. And with regard to the playoffs, I think not. And I think a lot of that, my thinking is with the other teams in the division. Like, they're not better than Tampa Bay or Toronto or Boston or Florida. Now, something could happen. If a goalie gets hurt on one of those teams, we've already seen with the Florida Panthers, they've lost Barkov. What if Bobrovsky suddenly was the Bobrovsky that we've seen the last 2 seasons? What if Spencer Knight remembers that he's only 20 years old and can't step up? Could the Red Wings possibly make a move? Well, they'd have to change. First of all, they got to get much better defensively. They're just not nearly good enough defensively. And I'm not just talking about the defense. I just think the mindset's not there. You got to be hard to play against, and they're too easy to play against, in my opinion. So I think not for the playoffs, but I don't want to take anything away from the fact that I definitely see progress here, and I think the fan base does too. They can see, they've had some good efforts. They've had some good games. They've done some things they couldn't have done last year, and there's a higher entertainment value to this team. They're fun to watch, and they have interesting players now. So there's a lot of good going on, but I still think, that Steve Yzerman was being totally honest when he said, you got to be patient. It's going to take me some time. So even Steve Yzerman's not a miracle worker.
And it's just like the Pistons. Young players, you got to have patience, and I call it growing pains. You're going to see games where the Wings are going to look like a cup contender, and then see games where they struggle.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Growing pains is a good way to put it. And, with inconsistency is the hallmark of younger teams, where they can be good for a while and then they lose their way. And I also think confidence erodes quickly with young teams. And they start playing well. They start believing themselves. They lose 1 game and then 2 games, and then everything's shot. Okay. And I think, there's a worry about that with even with Sider and Raymond. They've had so much success early that, what if they hit a wall and Raymond goes 4 games without a point, and, what will the impact on? That's just part of, learning how to play in this league, is to get through the hard times. And, it's easy to play this game when things are going well. It's a lot harder to play when things are not going well.
Okay. And I got 2 questions, but I'm going to wrap it up into 1 question for you, Kevin, because I know you got to get going. Who has been a pleasant surprise so far this year for the Red Wings? And what are your thoughts on head coach Jeff Blashill and his coaching staff so far in the 21-22 season?
A pleasant surprise. Yeah, I guess I would have to say Nedeljkovic. I really wasn't sure what the Red Wings were going to get from him. Like, he played very well last year, but let's not forget that the Carolina Hurricanes, a team that is much farther along in terms of making a run at a cup than the Red Wings are, said, we're done with Nedeljkovic. Like, they cut him loose is the only way to put it. So I didn't know what we were going to have in Detroit here with him, and I think he has been solid. He has shown to be the same goalie he was last year when he was a Calder Trophy finalist. So I think I don't know if a surprise is the right word, but I think everyone is pretty pleased at how his development was, because I think they didn't quite know what they had with him. And with regard to Blashill, I've been consistent in what I've said about him. I know the fan base wants to blame him for everything, and I really don't think he has anything to do with what's happened with the Red Wings, other than, he and Steve Yzerman have one mind. So when you're criticizing moves that Jeff Blashill make, you need to remind yourself that he's not doing anything that he doesn't discuss with Steve Yzerman. Like, that is their relationship. Steve and he are tight. They talk all the time about what's going on. Like, I try to remind people, when Hronek was benched, you don't think Steve Yzerman was involved in that discussion? I guarantee you he was. And most of the moves that he makes with regard to pairings and everything, I don't think Steve Yzerman tells them who to play with whom, but he doesn't do anything without discussing it. And if Yzerman doesn't like it, I'm sure he'd have no problem telling Jeff Blashill that. So I don't know. I mean, although saying all that, I think Steve Yzerman understands, as we all do, that in the NHL, at some point, it just becomes necessary to change the coach. That's just the way we do it. You need a new perspective, a new outlook, a freshness. You need that chalkboard to be clean, where everybody kind of starts over in terms of playing time. And that's going to happen to Jeff Blashill. I don't know whether it'll be during this season or after this season or next season, but at some point here, he probably is not going to be the coach when they're competing for a championship. But, right now, I think always take Steve Yzerman at his word. He doesn't lie. He said last year he paid close attention. He watched all the practices. He knew what was going on with the team, and he liked what he saw. In other words, he likes the way Blashill was working with the team. Now, I don't know what he feels this year, but I guarantee you that if he wasn't comfortable with the coach, he wouldn't be here.
Okay. Before I let you go, Kevin, just a really quick yes or no. Will Mike Babcock be back in the NHL by the end of this year or next year?
I'm beginning to think no. So that's what I'll go with. We're at a time when behavior that went on from him in Toronto, and he had tension with players in Detroit as well. Mm-hmm. And it's been documented that the Swedish contingent were not pleased with him over his treatment of Johan Franzen. Because of that, and I think that we're now taking a look at that sort of thing. We know what happened with Bill Peters, and so I don't think that teams will be eager to bring him aboard, even though he was a good coach for a long time. I know Ken Holland told me multiple times that Mike Babcock prepared teams better than any coach he'd ever seen in terms of game preparation. So, I think he's a good coach, but I don't know that his methods, I think he'll have to change his ways a little bit to get back in the league.
Okay. And quickly, where can my audience find you on social media?
Yeah, I'm at by Kevin Allen on Twitter, and then I have my own writer Facebook page as well. You just look for Kevin Allen on Facebook, and you can subscribe and be part of my group there. But in addition to writing for Detroit Hockey Now, I also write national columns for Hockey Buzz as well. So I usually do about 20 columns a month, and I cover a lot of different teams in addition to the Red Wings.
Okay, Kevin. Well, I was going to say, I really appreciate you coming on today. Thank you so much. And we'll definitely have to keep in touch. And hopefully the Red Wings will get a win tonight against the Vegas Golden Knights at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, we've already got some news there. The Vegas Golden Knights have got some COVID issues as well. They've got 2 or 3 players that are away. They canceled practice today. The game is still on, but there are some issues there with COVID.
And so same with Ottawa as well. So hopefully the Red Wings don't get into that situation that Ottawa's in as well.
Yep, sounds good. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Thanks, Kevin. Have a great day, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you so much.
See you later.
Yep, you too. Anyways, guys, that was Kevin Allen, the former longtime hockey writer for US Today for 34 years. He's now the national columnist for Hockey Buzz, and he's also the Detroit Red Wings beat writer for Detroit Hockey Now. You can check out hockeybuzz.com, and also the other website you can check out. He does really good work on these sites is Detroit Hockey Now and hockeybuzz.com. And you can also follow Kevin Allen on Twitter at @ByKevinAllen as well. And guys, I'm going to just show a little clip of the Red Wings Calder Cup. I think he's going to win the Calder Cup this year, and that's Lucas Raymond. I'm just going to show a couple minutes of highlights of this 19-year-old kid from Sweden and how well he's done with Detroit this year. 18 games, 7 goals, 11 assists, 18 points. He's averaging a point a game as a teenager. Not been done in Detroit since Steve Yzerman. One sec, guys. I'm going to just show you a little video clip of highlights from Lucas Raymond so far this year.
NHL seasons. Larkin shoots it in. Close in the slot. Vasilevsky stopped at a sharp angle. The Kaiser got it out to center. Raymond through the legs, kept control, gets pinned to the boards. He turns up high with it. Raymond decided to Fabry. The shot, the save, the rebound. Lucas Raymond. Down low, Bertuzzi. Fabry, Bertuzzi.
Come off the body right there. You got to keep him to the outside. Let him have the puck, but keep him to the outside.
Raymond stole it from Hughes. To Bertuzzi. Back to Sider, to Bertuzzi, to Raymond, to Fabry. Save made.
Lucas Raymond. And then it all unfolded from there, and a really good chance by Fabry in front of the net, but not enough room to really do as much as he might want to do. There's a little hook check on Quinn Hughes, and that's what I talked about with the Taco Bell take. Wear him down. Get the puck in his corner. Chase him down. Put the body on him. He's played.
Gagne back to Leddy. Now to Fabry. Back to Leddy. To Lucas Raymond. For Nick Leddy. To Raymond. Bertuzzi couldn't hold the pass. Raymond's got it again for Leddy. Gagne surveys. Kick plate to Leddy. Now to Raymond, top of right circle. Back down low to Gagne. Now to Leddy. Skate the stick to Lucas Raymond. Bertuzzi across. Gagne's got it. Leddy the shot. That goes high over the net.
Great to see these kids on both sides playing this game.
Dragged across the line and onside for Raymond. And his shot got blocked by Bertuzzi. Got it out to center ice. Jackets check. Here comes Bertuzzi. Was to get it. Leddy at the point. In front. Raymond. Stopped by Corbusello. Raymond again. Another try. There goes Raymond. Gives it to him. Scores!
Bingo!
First National Hockey League goal. A minute to come for Lucas Raymond.
Wow. Wow. Talk about bar down. Dylan Larkin with that great leg strength and speed. And they all come after him, and Raymond right in the top over the catching glove. That's the wrist shot that this kid showed in the Swedish League with men for the last 2 years. Right at the faceoff dot. In the back of the net. 1-0.
I think Sanders ahead of where he was.
Yeah.
Different game now, mind you, but here comes Larkin with Bertuzzi. Scores! Tyler Bertuzzi!
Again, this is kind of a on the rush. Larkin at the blue line, bang to Bertuzzi, 2-on-1. Again, a bit.
Anyways, that clip of Lucas Raymond's highlights, the rookie with the Red Wings, courtesy of Puck Daily. Again, Lucas Raymond leads National Hockey League rookies in goal scoring with 7 goals, 11 assists, 18 points in 18 games. Point a game for a 19-year-old kid, which is great. And also for the Red Wings, their top rookies, Raymond Sider, who has 2 goals, 11 assists, 13 points. Simon Edmondson, a defenseman in Sweden, is a high prospect. Joe Valino, goaltender Sebastian Kosa, Jonathan Berglund, Albert Johansson, and Theodore Nakabach. So the Red Wings right now are a very young team, but the future is really bright, and Steve Yzerman has done a great job rebuilding their farm system and drafting well. And you know what? I was disappointed as a Wings fan that didn't get the #1 pick 2 years in a row. The Rangers and Ottawa did. But you know what? Getting Lucas Raymond and Mort Sider is like winning the draft lottery, because both of them are that good. Sider will be of the Red Wings one of their best defensemen for the next 10, 15 years, and same with Lucas Raymond as a forward as well. Anyways, guys, just to wrap this up, the Red Wings' next 2 games are on the road tonight. As you heard from Kevin Allen, they're taking on Vegas at 10 o'clock, but they have COVID issues with the Golden Knights right now. And then Saturday night, November 20th at 8 o'clock, they travel to Phoenix to take on the Arizona Cardinals. And then the Wings are back home to Little Caesars Arena on Wednesday, November 24th at 7:30 in St. Louis Blues. Hopefully, Dylan Larkin will be back by November 27th. He's on COVID, the COVID list right now as well. Anyways, guys, also just to let you know, my next Live with CDP podcast, Monday, November 22nd at 10 o'clock. My guest will be Steve Bell, the longtime radio play-by-play voice of the Ontario Hockey League's Windsor Spitfires and longtime radio personality for 40 years in Windsor, Ontario. Steve's going to come on and talk about his career in radio in Windsor and his longtime career as the play-by-play voice of the Windsor Spitfires since 87 to 88, I believe, as well. In some OHL stats, right now, the OHL's best face-off teams: number 1, the London Knights; number 2, the Gold Storm; number 3, the Mississauga Steelheads; number 4, the Hamilton Bulldogs; number 5, the Flint Firebirds for top face-offs; number 6, the Saginaw Spirits. Let's see, and that's it. And those are the top 6 teams. And you know what? Being a good face-off team will mean more possessions for you and more chances to score as well. And as you guys know, let's see. Glow Storm this week have 2 home games at the Sleeman Center. Tomorrow night at 7:30 against the Owen Sound Attack on Rogers TV and CJOY 1460. And then Saturday, November 20th at 4 o'clock against the Sarnia Stings. I will be doing camera work for that game. And that game will be on Rogers TV and CJOY 1460. Come out, see a very young Storm team that's very talented. They're off to a 9-6-1 start. And they did acquire an overage defenseman this week from the Sarnia Stings, Cameron. I'm trying to remember what his name is. Cameron Pushka, a defenseman. If I pronounce that right. But he should help their defense corps as well. Just want to say thank you to everybody watching this live on my YouTube channel. I'm up to 67 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and like my YouTube channel. Thank you to everyone watching this on Facebook Live and also on Twitter at Chris D. Pame. If you like to follow me at Chris D. Pame, I'm up to 680 followers now as well. And you guys can also follow me on TikTok at Live with CDP. That's at Live with CDP on TikTok. And just to let you guys know, Live with CDP podcast, the audio version is going to be downloaded to Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, and LinkedIn as well, if you prefer the audio version of my podcast instead of the live version. And also, just to let you know, StreamYard's the official live stream provider of Live with CDP podcasts. And also, guys, just to let you know, you guys can also follow me on social media. You can follow me on Facebook if you'd like to add me as a friend, Twitter at Chris D. Pame, Instagram Chris Pame, and please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and hit like to my previous podcast as well. Alrighty, folks, and the other news I wanted to wrap you guys up with is the Detroit Tigers did sign starting pitcher Eduardo Rodriguez from Boston, 5-year, $77 million deal. I think Rodriguez will be the number 4 starter for the Tigers this year. And the other news is Justin Verlander, the former Tiger great, is going to stay with the Houston Astros for 1 year, $25 million as well. And some other news, Robbie Ray wins his first Cy Young Award with the Toronto Blue Jays. And ironically, Robbie Ray was a Detroit Tiger pitcher with them in 2014. They have 5 pitchers from that team that have won Cy Young Awards since then. And that's Verlander, Parcello, David Price, now Robbie Ray, and Max Scheisser. So there's 5 guys from the Tigers starting rotation back in 14 that has won a Cy Young Award. So that's just amazing. But congratulations to Robbie Ray in winning his first ever Cy Young Award winner for the Toronto Blue Jays as well. And let's see, guys. Let's see. I'm just going to put on my next podcast here. If I do have another podcast tomorrow, guys, I will definitely let you know. But we'll just put it right here. Again, my next Live with CDP podcast is Monday, November 22nd at 10 a.m. Steve Bell, again, the play-by-play voice of the Windsor Spitfires and longtime radio personality in Windsor, will come on, talk some Spitfire hockey, OHL, and his career in radio. If I do have another podcast before then, I will let you guys know. But anyways, guys, again, I want to say thank you so much to Kevin Allen for coming on and talking some Detroit Red Wings hockey. Please consider following Kevin on Twitter at @ByKevinAllen, or check him out on Facebook, or check out hockeybuzz.com. And again, Detroit Hockey Now. He has some really good columns, and especially if you're a Detroit Red Wing fan and also a hockey fan as well. All right, guys. Like I said, I'm going to wrap this up, but 4 podcasts, 4 days. I just want to say thank you to all my guests and everybody for watching this again live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and check it out on audio after. So I hope everyone has a great day. Thursday night football's on tonight. New England Patriots taking on the Atlanta Falcons at 8:20. If the Patriots win tonight, they'll go to 7-4, and they'll be tied with Buffalo for first in the AFC East. If they can get the win tonight in Atlanta against Matty Ice, Ryan, and the Atlanta Falcons as well. And the Eagles take on the New Orleans Saints. 1 o'clock Sunday at the Link in Philly. Can the Eagles finally win their first home game? And we'll cross their fingers. And if the Eagles can win, they'll be 5-6. Go Birds. Anyways, guys, like I said, thank you everybody for watching Live with CDP podcast. I hope you realize how much I really love doing this podcast, and I've been lucky to have a lot of great guests on this show, especially like Kevin Allen's. So anyways, guys, have a great night, great weekend, and we'll see you guys soon for the next edition of Live with CDP podcast. Let's go Red Wings.